It's really competitive, and I think it's trying to be more creative, to be honest, because we've all seen, and I don't know about you guys, but now with everyone doing everything through AI, everything's just this. It's getting quite bland.
Vanilla.
A lot of the content, isn't it?
Do you know what? I actually think that strategy is better than the other one.
I do, but I think, if I'm honest, I was a bit before my time.
Right. Okay. So essentially, you're
a pioneer, aren't you?
Yeah. You're the open AI of Google.
Yeah.
By the way, I know some of the answers to this, having worked with these for
trying
years.
to find out now.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Hi, and welcome back to Embracing Marketing Mistakes. I'm your host, Chris Norton, and I'm joined today by Rachel Massey, Director of Marketing at Huthway International and one of our very lovely clients here at Prohibition. As we know, on this show, mistakes are inevitable, but Rachel's episode shows how a good brief can prevent most of them. She sits down with us for a candid conversation about career slip-ups, the projects we've worked on together, and how 72 hours of anxiety was induced by one single typo. As always, sit back, relax, and let's hear about what to do when you find out the senior team hates the corporate brochures that took 6 months of work to create. Enjoy. Okay, Rachel Massey, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So you're a podcasting pro now, Rachel,
Well, yeah,
aren't you?
I've already been doing one this morning, so.
Total.
What's the show called?
Mastering Sales and Negotiations
Oh, the
by
test.
Huthway International.
Oh, very good, very good. So you're I think you're our second client that we've had on the show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Feel free to vent all anger about working with Will and the team while you're here. That's fine. How is it working with us?
It's always delightful, to be honest.
Is the right answer?
Truly, honestly, it's always delightful.
Oh, good. Right, so for the benefit of our listeners, your current role is Director of Marketing at Huthway International,
It is.
and I say you're a client of ours. Can you tell our listeners a bit about what Huthway International do if they don't know who you are?
Huthway International are the custodians of spin selling, most importantly. And
that's not selling PR, right?
that's not selling PR, no. Spin selling is all about selling skills, really great sales skills. And it's derived from the book Spin Selling by Neil Rackham, which is probably still the number one sales skills book that there is out there. So that's what Huthway do. And we have trainers that deliver sales and negotiation skills to organisations all over the world, truly international organisation.
Pre-Huthway, then you've always been a B2B marketer, haven't you? Is that right?
Well, no. So I started out actually as a seller. So I started out as a salesperson in international sales, and then I thought I was getting my second job. I thought I was getting in marketing because that's really where I wanted to be, because all the things I was doing in my sales role, I thought I could be better at this if I had the right information stuff, whatever it was at that time around me. I just didn't think it was good enough. So I had another role, and I thought that was going to be more marketing role, and it wasn't. So I had to really then start from the actual real bottom of sales and work my way up skills-wise. So I didn't do that at university, didn't have a degree in marketing, did politics and economics. As most people don't. I think there's a lot of people that don't have a marketing degree.
90% of people don't do marketing degrees.
And then I do love it, and I've done a lot of things since focused on mostly a lot of brand, a lot of exhibitions, a lot of events, and a lot of website and digital marketing, but always for B2B.
So how come you've ended up at Huthway International then in negotiation skills marketing?
Well, a very lucky coincidence. So a very good friend of mine had the job, wanted to go a different way, and I got a recommendation.
Okay.
Which is always the best way, I feel, to get a job.
So what's this is quite a big question. What is, in your view, kind of what's the state of B2B marketing in 2025? What's cutting through, because it's more competitive than ever, isn't it?
It's really competitive, and I think it's trying to be more creative, to be honest, because we've all seen, and I don't know about you guys, but now with everyone doing everything through AI, everything's just this, it's getting quite bland.
Vanilla.
A lot of the content, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's trying to have a voice and trying to have some creativity and just to look a little bit different than anybody else in that B2B space, which has always been a scarier place from a creative perspective, because people don't want to go there, do they? B2C's always been the zany place for the creative stuff. But I don't feel that B2B's really it's not really gripped anybody, and I think that's where you can make a real difference these days.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think you're right. Just because it's B2B, for a long time there's been this kind of misconception that we can't be particularly creative. We can't be a challenger brand, and it's always been consumer brands that have kind of been doing these big creative activations. But B2B, you're still selling to people, aren't you? There's no reason why you shouldn't be or couldn't be creative.
Yeah. So what do you do in terms of marketing for them then? What sort of stuff do you do tactically?
Tactically, we're really trying to do a long tail sort of branding piece. Right? So we're doing the podcasts. Obviously, we're finding them that they're getting really great interaction. Because we're a research based company, we try and do a lot of research-based stuff. So we've got a lot of white papers. We've got a lot of clever people that work at Huthwaite. We've got some really great intel. So we really try and focus on that, just actually giving people some practical advice of the things that they can do better, the things that they can improve within their organisations, hoping that they'll think, right, these people know what they're talking about. Let's have a look at them.
So white papers, I find an interesting one. Is there still a place for because almost that, to some degree, that becomes the kind of de facto tactic, doesn't it? We're a B2B brand. We need to produce some white papers. Is there still a role for them? It sounds like there is.
I think there is, but I think you've got to do it on two sort of fronts. There's got to be like there's those people that will always want that short summary. I just want to know this in like a page or less. They're like video content now. You've got to stick to that. How many seconds
Snippets,
is it?
30, 60 seconds.
It's not long, is it?
No.
So you've got to still do that piece, and people have got to get value for that. But I think with what we do with the skills and practice, people have got to be able to sort of get a little bit deeper than that, because this stuff doesn't just happen automatically. You've got to be prepared to go through some training to actually do things differently yourself, and that's not just a 5-minute job,
So it's about, there is still a space for it, but it's about real depth and expertise.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what sort of customers does Huthwaite International have then? Who are you like that target demographic in the B2B space?
It can be. This is why Huthwaite is a blessing and a curse. So literally anybody. So from one person who wants to change the way that they sell or become a salesperson, to a multinational organisation who's got salespeople all over the world. Maybe 500-600 people. So at either end of that scale, we will help them. And I think for someone like Huthwaite, there aren't many people that can do the top end of that scale. So in language, 600-700 people quickly, all over the world, and to the same level is somewhere that where we really score highly.
Where do you focus your time and efforts then? I mean, by the way, I know some of the answers to this, having worked with you for years.
Trying to find out now.
I'm curious. Because you could target the one-man band or the one-woman band or a huge international company. You've got a limited team and limited time. Where do you focus your efforts?
Well, we have to focus our efforts on that, which we call sort of this box 4 area, where we tick all those boxes. So you've got international, you've got quite a lot of people that need training, and they're multinational. So that is really where we try and focus. But to be honest, a lot of our content, because it's really skills focused, it will meet people's need wherever they are, to be honest.
Will's his interview is applying the pressure. I don't want to do that. This is more fun. I'm going to take it easier. Tell us about the time that you did an exhibition stand and what happened, because you gave us a few details.
Well, yeah, you want marketing mistakes, and I mean, there's been a lot. We've all had a lot, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
But this one particularly sticks out because when I think about it now, I can still feel the anxiety and I can still feel the dread of watching what unfolded. So we were at Excel in London, where I'd spent a lot of time over the years. And it was quite early in my career at one particular organisation, and this was a big stand build. This is, I don't know, probably 100 square metres stand. Big.
And the investment is huge for those, isn't
it? Six-figure stuff.
Wow.
And it's in the middle of Excel, 4 sides.
What colour is it?
It's multicoloured.
Multicoloured.
And we'd done all the messaging inside the stand. So we'd signed all that off. We'd got that down pat, great. But I hadn't really thought about the signage. I had really thought about it. It was standard signage around the edge of the stand. So it was just our strapline brand. Maybe overlooked that slightly. So this is day one, opening the stand. It's all going great. And the guy, someone came up to me and said, the guy at the stand opposite wants to chat. So I said, oh, okay. So I went over to this stand, and he's got another big stand. He said, I don't know how to tell you this. He said, but you've missed T out of software all over your stand.
So not just once?
No, it's all over.
What, so someone couldn't spell software when they wrote the...
Someone.
I don't know who it was, but
who's chief?
It was something that was overlooked because it wasn't. This is standard message. This is standard stuff that goes. So I never even thought. So it said software. So this was all over this stand, and
software.
The second day, usually if this happens and you get some sort of spelling mistake, you can send it to the printers. You have to throw money at it, and you can get it sorted. But this is day one. And this is in London, so chief execs coming to see the stand. There's a lot of important guests coming to this stand. This is a big showpiece. So I had to make the decision. So I thought, right, this has been around now sort of all morning. No one said anything about a guy that's looking at this stand his whole time. Do I fess up, tell people what I've done? Or do I just think no one else has noticed it so far? I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to pretend I don't even know. And we're just going to continue. And that's what I decided to do.
What time of day was it that you heard that there was a spelling mistake and it was software everywhere?
It was probably about 11 a.m. So the show had been open like a couple of hours.
And how many people do you think is in the show over
Thousands.
the day? Thousands, okay.
And plus the whole leadership team of the
Plus
company.
the whole leadership team of the company. All the team that were, I mean, there was, I don't know how many stand staff, 20, 30.
And how long was the show?
3 days. So for 72 hours, I just sweated. And I was just, the anxiety was high because every time someone said my name, I just was like, what? Because I thought they were going to say, have you noticed that?
What level were you here? Did you have bosses there as well?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But what, I couldn't do anything about it. So I just thought no one has noticed it.
In front of the word every time.
It was everywhere. I couldn't position myself.
And were they only using this stand once and then that was it? They were going to bin it after that?
Unfortunately, that is what happens with stand builds. Yeah, you just build them and
then they take them down.
Unfortunately. But at that point, they might be a little more environmentally friendly these days, but that's what used to happen, yeah.
I think the moral of this story is that nobody reads stands.
That's a very cynical,
nobody bloody reads them.
What I did know was because I'd written that word a lot in my time at this
software.
Yeah, that I had done it. It's a mistake that you do when you're typing a lot. So I thought this is a mistake that people don't pick up on. I've not picked up on it before in other certain things. So I knew that it was a mistake that was common, and I just had to just go with it.
So when the clock struck 5 o'clock,
no, not very much
on the last day, were you just incredibly relieved?
I've never. Do you know what this is? No one knows that. I've never ever told anyone.
An exclusive.
I love this. I absolutely love it. We're clipping that bit. I mean, it's the fact that you've spent the whole time. Basically, you did the ostrich approach, which is you buried your head in the sand.
I buried my head in the sand.
I'm just gonna grin and bear it.
But this wasn't. This was quite early on in this. This was a big piece. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. No, if anybody else had noticed, I would have been going, I can't believe it. But no one did, and I got away with it.
It would have been so insincere.
There was me and the guy in the stand across. That's all that knew.
Your fake surprise. Really?
How did nobody notice? How did nobody notice that? I've.
You'll be surprised that word particularly. when you just glance at it, you just think, it says software because that's what you expect it to say.
There's certain words, isn't there, when you see like grammar books and things where they do it and they take a letter out and you can't notice it.
No, they do.
Maybe
There's a lot that happens. Well, maybe that is, but
we need to do the research into that.
Is there some retired chief exec listening to this now?
Let's hope not.
I think we've, not to that degree, we've all done that.
And I say you must have, in PR, you must have done spelling mistakes all the time.
I've told this story before. So my second job actually in PR, I worked in London, and as an exec, starting out, we worked in tech PR. And as an exec, part of the admin of the job was basically printing all the press releases out, stapling them, and folding. We actually got trained on how to fold them into 3, so they fit perfectly in an envelope. Then we'd go down to the mail room, and you'd get all it was 250 of us.
Mail room.
You'd get
That's old school, isn't it?
Exactly. You get like 15, 20 of us at all the same level, and we'd be like a chain, and you'd be folding up press releases and putting them into envelopes. Then you'd run them through. Get it? The franking machine. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember the franking machine.
They were quite fun because they'd fly through the franking machine. Anyway, so I remember being specifically like 83 press releases in of a press release that we'd written and the team had written. And on sorry to all clients listening right now, second paragraph in, I saw typo, like a small typo, and I was like, did exactly what you did. I was like,
pretend it's not there.
I'm going to have to go upstairs because this wasn't the days of being able to it's not digital, is it? You've got to go upstairs, change everything, reprint it all out, come all the way back down, and we missed the post. So I just went with it with a typo.
What was the typo?
I can't remember. It was probably software. Because we worked in tech.
Probably.
My first ever job in PR. This isn't the other story I told you earlier. I'm not going to tell that story. I had to mail out 5,000 companies. Again, traditional mail out, asking for sponsorship. And it said, dear colleague, blah, 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 blah. And on the last batch that I was sorting out, I realised it didn't say dear colleague, it said dear college.
Oh, no.
But again, head in the sand, carried on.
I think that might be a software one, though. I think people might just see that and not actually realise that one.
Yeah.
And they get the gist, don't they?
You get the gist.
Yeah.
It's not as bad.
Maybe that's what I should have told my chief exec. You get the gist.
Well, everyone knows what you're trying to say, don't they?
You get the gist. Yeah. It's not going to work in a branding meeting, though, is it?
Any other wild mistakes that spring to mind? Professional or otherwise?
Yeah, well, one which what we've been talking about, more about the creative brief, where a company wanted like an About Us brochure, quite standard, and I thought, I don't want to do it in that standard way. I want to let's go and do a load of case studies with clients, and let's tell the brand through them. Let's show them who we are through their stories. Authentic. And so we had a photographer that we went around. We went to lots of different places. I don't want to name. Went to lots of different places, took lots of different photos of these people who, some, not as photogenic, let's say, as they could be. So we did our best, and they were very pleased with the results. They've never had these great professional photographs done before. Told their story, pulled it all together, and I did we did the first 2, and then I showed it to my marketing director, and I said, look, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to pull out these quotes, talks about the brand, but in a real personal way. And he'd sort of agreed to it up front, but I don't think maybe I hadn't quite explained it so well. And then he took that to the chief exec, who just went immediately, no. That's not what we want. We want we are a we've serviced So I had to take all these people were loving this idea that we'd gone and photographed, so they wanted to see their names and their photos up in lights, and I couldn't provide that for them. So I had to take these as very, very expensive case studies and try and do something else with them. So that's what they were. They were just very expensive case studies.
But do you know what? I actually think that strategy is better than the other one.
I do, but I think, if I'm honest, I was a bit before my time.
Right, okay. So essentially you're
a pioneer, aren't you?
Yeah. You're the open AI to their Google.
Yeah. And I just don't think that they could see that brand. They couldn't see that brand vision of what I was trying to do. They just wanted it to be a bit more black and white, and this was a bit more inferred, wasn't it?
Yeah, because like the modern marketing now is all about
that. Would be all. That would be all over that now, wouldn't we?
It'd be like the employee advocacy program that I introduced 15 years ago.
Is this kind of an example of conservative? I'll say it. Conservatism with a small c in terms of B2B.
I think so. It's that B2B, and it was quite conservative, and I just don't think they just weren't ready for that. When they looked at their competitors and where they wanted to place themselves, that was just too out there for them. And it wasn't really, was it? When we think about things now, but then maybe it was a little bit more.
So what as a creative B2B marketer, then there's going to be listeners to this thinking, I'm trying to sell in big creative B2B ideas to my board and my chief exec. How can they do that? Because not every B2B brand is overly progressive, is it? There's lots of B2B brands doing really great creative work, and that's what's required to get cut through. But there is a lot of conservatism. I can't say it. There
is a lot of conservative thinking around B2B, and I think it comes from a real, particularly when it's really corporate. Yeah. And there's like that we daren't be that person and stand out in that way. And I think a lot of the time, and I think we can all be guilty of this, is there's so many messages that you want to get across that one piece of great creative, which has got to have one, if not maybe two very core messages. That's just not enough for them, is it? They want, but we need to say this and we need to get that over and we need to get that over. And it's like, you're not going to be able to do that. What is the essence of what we're trying to get across? And we'll do that piece. And that needs to be enough in this space that we're in. And I don't think people are very good at doing that.
Yeah, it's dull. A lot of B2B stuff, 90% of it, as you say, is vanilla. It's dull, and people think working in B2B is dull, but it's not. Like, if you do an amazing, great, interesting, engaging content, it can work so much better than B2C as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in B2B are very interesting roles. They do very interesting things, but you never really get to it, do you? They don't really get to the nub of what they really do. It's all glossed over with this very corporate speak.
Yeah,
which is quite hard, to get that the real essence of who you are through that brand, through the way of that you're writing is difficult for people to get on board with, and it's difficult for everybody to do it consistently, isn't it?
But who is doing it? Is there any B2B brands out there that you think are just nailing it?
Put me on
Adobe are. Well, I heard a thing about Adobe. They did an AI summit just in the last sort of 6 months. They held a summit in, I think it was Las Vegas, and Adobe's all over, obviously, the AI side of things and B2B. And they were looking at, apparently, it's what AI has done is changed. Like everybody's been talking about it for years, like personalization in marketing is the next thing to do. Well, actually, apparently now with AI, that is exactly what Adobe are enabling. Like the fact that you can now completely, like your white papers you were just talking. I was thinking earlier about your white paper you were talking about, whereas you would have a generic white paper on a sector and you'd target the sector. I think now you could target the businesses of a certain size within that sector, like much, much more.
Yeah, you can get really, really niche.
Yeah, and make it completely about them with AI, because you're not writing it, it's the AI is. So I think that Adobe's one.
Do you not think you've got to be a little bit careful with AI though, just on on the tone of voice that it gives you? I know you can ask it to give you different tones and you can make it do that, but it's still sometimes, for me, it's still got to be rewritten. It's still got to be put in, and you've still got to put your spin on that.
It's an intern level is what we've been talking about. But actually, if you've trained it on if you've got templates and things like that,
you can train it to
be exactly on. British English, not using M dashes and loads of exclamation marks and hey Rachel, you can make it much less American sounding and more UK sounding if that's where you're based. It can be, but I know what you mean. Like, and also it makes stuff up. Like the amount of times I ask AI to do something and it still does it anyway and sticks it in the email and you're like, you shouldn't be doing that.
But it can't do things like we've got a Robin, who you'll know, who we do the podcast with. He wrote is a brilliant writer, and he wrote a blog for us recently, and it started with a quote from Frasier. Now, AI ain't going to do that for you.
Well, it is if you give it a prompt.
If you give him the prompt, but that's just come from him. You know what I mean? That's his way of doing stuff. So you wouldn't be giving him AI a prompt to do that.
Well, you'd break it down structurally and say...
What Frasier quote was it? I love Frasier.
I can't remember which one it was now, but it was a great way of introducing a blog, and it's that kind of stuff that I think, yes, you can prompt it, I suppose, but it's just harder, isn't it?
Thinking.
And if you were going to do that, why just write it then? if you're going to prompt it to that degree.
Yeah, but I suppose what it allows you to do is have one campaign that is completely bespoke to 100 audiences. And it'll take time to write those prompts and get it all tailored and get it ready. And so the end result that you get out is 100 different versions that have maybe taken you the time it took you to do 10 normally. You've now got 100 or 120. Do you know what I mean? You've got scalability then. That's the difference, I think.
I mean, going full circle back to what you guys do. So I think one of the things you do really well and your team just get is, rather than, like you said, rather than generic white papers, there's genuine knowledge there and deep knowledge, isn't there? And I remember one of your papers is on medical device, something around the sales imperatives of medical device sales professionals, and it's so niche. It answers a direct question that a tiny audience are interested in, and you're not interested in that other 95%, are you? And by making it so specific and so deep, it consistently works, and it's one of your most effective.
Yeah, it's a really effective paper. Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes down to that super specialist knowledge that answers one slither of your key audience's questions and challenges, isn't it?
I think as well, you're thinking about what we do, and we really know. If there's anybody who knows, we know what those sales challenges are, those marketing challenges are, those negotiation challenges are. We really do. So when we write things, particularly long form pieces like white papers, we can really quickly we really get to those aha moments quick because we know what they are so well. We're finding those out every day.
Well, that's it. And I think the layman would look at it and think, hold on, we're isolating 95% of our audience here by not being quite general. But actually, the opposite is true, isn't it? The more specific
you are,
the more effective.
and that it works perfectly for search.
We worked with a research consultancy, and they called them "holy shit" moments, which I thought was quite a nice way to phrase it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of light bulb moments that just give you that enormous value, isn't it? And I suppose it's about trust ultimately, isn't it? It's not going to lead to a sale straight away, but it's your audience will trust you. You will become that authority in their mind. I think,
what you're talking about really resonates. We've got one white paper that's called "Why Do Bad Things Happen to Great New Products?" Because they do, all the time, and it is a question that people will genuinely ask. But this was brilliant. Why didn't this? Why we launched this, and why didn't this work? And the answer is a myriad of things. But this might give you an idea of some of the things you need to look at. And those kind of questions, those kind of problems that people have, we're very good at knowing what they are.
The other paper you've done, which really grabbed me and I think grabbed a lot of people, is dirty tricks in negotiations.
Oh, right, yeah.
So looking at some of those.
Well, they're really interesting for anybody, whether they negotiate or not, aren't they?
Absolutely fascinating. It's things like...
Come on, give us a dirty trick.
There's some ones that relate to sort of really big negotiations, but there's some that, I think a lot of people relate to. Rolling concessions is one. So people get into a negotiation and then they'll go, right, I think we're nearly there. If we can just agree this last point. And then, right, we're done. But what about this? And it just keeps going on.
So people are more willing to agree because they think it's the last point.
So we'll agree to this because then we're going to get it over the line. And then suddenly it stops a bit and then it might be another one appears. And I think people can get into that without really realising what's going on.
So
because
before they think
they've done.
And
cross the line.
That's a deliberate approach, is it?
It can be for people who know what they're doing, yeah.
Because I think sometimes you go into a negotiation and you assume there's goodwill on both sides, but one party might be super trained in how to extract maximum value.
Yeah, that's the dirty trick, isn't it? We're gonna try and get them on this. Let's go. We want this, and this, and we're going to get it. Let's get to this point. We'll think they've agreed, and then we just want these other things as well.
Would we be in the right frame of mind if, like, we were going to sell our house, for instance, and then we just hire somebody from Huthway International to negotiate the sale for us?
Just
Robin.
Do that. Yeah, just get Robin in, get Tony in.
What do you enjoy most about working in marketing today?
What I like about marketing today is just the range of things that you can do. So at the moment we're doing podcasts. We've got the more traditional white papers that we're doing. We've got the blogs that we always do. We're doing loads of more video. And those videos are not just for the website, they'll be for YouTube, they'll be for social media. There's just so much more to think about and so many ways that you can really rinse the assets that you've got. You've got that white paper, you're turning that into blogs, you've got this, you've got the long piece of video, you're turning that into clips. Everything, there's just much more creative ways to deal with the content that you create now. And I really like that. I really like thinking about that and thinking about the best ways of using it.
Yeah, content's never had so much potential, has it?
No, not at all.
Years ago, it was content would be a brochure or a piece of written
It would
content.
be really
but now you can-
steady,
yeah.
but now it's just got so much more creative and there's so much more you can do with it.
But video was so much more expensive back then, though, wasn't it? Like you'd have to be. It was almost like 50 grand to do a video back in the day, a corporate video.
It was really expensive.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? The barriers to entry.
And it
are
was,
different.
and it
And where
was
would you
so
even-
steady as well, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Everyone was just so
corporate suit.
Oh yeah.
And where would you even distribute it? You think now there's so many
Yeah,
different channels
true.
to distribute
It would
video.
just be on your website and that would be it.
Yeah.
It would be an interview with the CEO about how great his operation is.
And then someone who was looking after your website was going, you have to take that down because it's dragging your website down. Nobody can open it. No one can see it on a mobile.
On dial-up, we're downloading the website and it keeps breaking.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is going to be an easy question, I hope. We always ask our guests who else you think we should interview if we could have somebody else on the show. I'm thinking straight away Robin and Tony would be great guests to kind of dive into the negotiation and sales side of things.
Yeah.
Anyone in the kind of the marketing sphere who you think would be a fascinating conversation?
Karen Woodhead would be a good conversation.
Yeah.
Someone that I really look up to from a marketing perspective. Has got great things to say. Very clever lady. She would be a great guest for you.
If people want to connect with you or find out about Huthwaite, where should they head?
HuthwaiteInternational.com, or you can find us on LinkedIn, X, and Facebook.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.